Let's dive in. Yeah, Earl, you mentioned it a second ago. I mentioned it with Jason's reverse mush, but Deshaun Watson spoke to the media for the first time since 2024 yesterday. It was a 13-minute press conference. We'll talk about how we thought he handled himself. There was a bunch of different things he hit on, but 2 quotes in particular I want to kind of highlight, which will dive into our deeper conversation on this. But the first was about the fan opinion and how he relates to the fans after some of the things that happened, especially when he got booed/cheered, however you want to categorize it, when he tore his Achilles and got carted off the field. Deshaun said, and I quote, "At the end of the day, I can't control what people support. I think that's their own opinions. I think that all I can do is just put out the best person I am, showcase who I am as a person, as a player, as a teammate, and what I represent as an individual. So outside of that, I can't focus on what the outside is saying or I have no control over that other than just putting the best product that I can put out as a person and as a player," basically trying to avoid the outside noise. He was also asked about Jimmy Haslam's swing and miss comment, the quarterback competition. We'll talk about that in a little bit. And then he was asked about his overall goal in 2026 heading into 2027, and he kept it pretty simple. Deshaun said, "I don't know. I'm just trying to play a full season. I'm just trying to be healthy so I can play all 17-plus games." He also said he hasn't been 100% healthy since Week 3, 2023 against the Tennessee Titans, a game the Browns won a long, long time ago. So, guys, when you look at the totality of what Deshaun Watson said yesterday, his first press conference since 2024, how do you think he handled himself in the light of some difficult questions? And overall, do you think he came off in a positive light or a negative light? Jason, start us out.
I thought he was great. And he was great because he didn't make a headline. I thought the answer that you showed about fan reaction, perfect. It was much better than at the Greenbrier is when I sort of was like, all right, I've had enough. This is nuts. When we were at the Greenbrier and he started acting like a victim and about people mentioning his character. Why do you think people mention your character, Deshaun?
I remember that. I remember that distinctively.
And I walked away from that and I was like, nope, I'm done. I tried. I'm out. I'm done. But yesterday I thought he handled it exactly right, because there's no great headline that came from it. He didn't try to act like a victim. He said, I can't control how people think and feel. All I can do is go out and play. I thought we'll get to the swing and miss. I thought that was right on point. So I thought he handled himself extremely well. And ultimately, it has no bearing on how he plays on the field. But it's obviously been a pretty tumultuous relationship with Deshaun since he's been here, between the city and the fans. And I'm on record, he should have been gone a long time ago. He should not still be here. And you can say what you want about the job Andrew Berry's done rebuilding this roster, and I think he's done a really nice job at this point. But the quarterback position is an absolute mess, and it's a mess he created. And until they figure that out, until they fix that, and I'm a little bit surprised that they're putting him in charge of ultimately fixing it, none of the rest of it matters. So they should have cut Deshaun before now. There was a point where it was impossible. It wasn't impossible at this point. They could have cut him. They could have rearranged some money. It would have hurt, yes. This team ain't going anywhere anyway this year, last year. So that part, I don't think he should still be here, but he is, so you got to deal with it. And for what he said, I thought he was exactly on point yesterday.
Yeah, I thought he came off very, very well myself. I thought that he was very composed. His body language seemed like he was a man at peace. Confident. He really didn't force anything. As Jason said, he didn't make any headlines. To me, the biggest thing that he said that stood out was he was not trying to go back and reinvent the wheel and, be the same Deshaun Watson in 2020. He says, I've matured, I'm older, I'm not the same person and or player. And I thought that was a great comment because it helps set a realistic expectation for the fan base and himself. And I told G yesterday, I thought that was a very humble answer. And, they say humility before honor. He sounded like a man who has been through a lot, overcame a lot, and is in a really good space in his life right now. And you could just see how, how composed he was while answering those questions.
Man, the thing that stood out to me was he said, I'm just trying to be healthy for 17 weeks. I've said this for a while now. If there's one thing I know about it is having multiple injuries. I done tore my ACL twice. I done partially tore my Achilles heel. I had neck surgery. I had back surgery. I had toe surgery. I had surgery on every appendage on my body. And I know what happens when you get back-to-back injuries and you take long periods of time off. I had two ACLs within I wouldn't say about a 12-month period of time. between my left knee and my right knee. And I felt the exact same way Deshaun Watson did. To me, when you get out there and you're actually playing, you're not thinking, oh, let me come out here and just light it up like I'm my old self. You're actually mentally and emotionally rehabilitating yourself. So every single practice you make it through is a milestone. Every single, especially because of him, he re-injured his Achilles after he had surgery. So there's parts of you, and nobody will say, he was like, did you ever think you would come back and play? He was like, yeah, I kind of knew. But in general, you can say that out loud, but everybody questions their mortality, and everybody questions after you done took that long of a segment of time off from playing, everything is up in the air. So I totally felt what he was saying, because every single time he goes on the field, and it's 2 practices in a row or 3 practices, or now the big part is now it's training camp. It's cool sliding around in shorts and things, but can you really do it at that level when there's an option that you can get hit or that pressure is there? So for me, I think he was real about it, and I think he also alluded to the fact that, and I know we talked about it yesterday, Earl, is he's like, this ain't 2020. I can't, people keep saying we're going to go back and hey, Deshaun can get to X, Y, and Z of 2020. Nah, he said that's not coming back.
At least he's realistic about it, because some of the rhetoric around this the last few months has been totally insane. It hasn't been good in 6 years. And people are acting like he's going to find it. Come on.
I just think, man,
that guy is gone.
We have a hard time letting go of what once was,
Yeah.
right? And that's not just in sports, that's in any walk of life. How many times do we do this show and we always throw up Deshaun Watson's 2020 graphics and stats? Like, we got to let that go. We can't keep sitting here thinking that a man, if he was to start as the quarterback for the Browns come week 1, coming off 2 stints of 690 plus days not playing football with the speed of the game how it is going to be able to go back and be the same version of himself when he was much younger and much more healthier and hadn't gone through the things that he went through off the field. I just think that's being unrealistic, and I think that when fans hear that, hopefully you readjust or recalibrate whatever expectations that you have from him from a statistical standpoint and just go out there and see what happens.
I feel like fans don't realize that these are human beings with human emotions that go through life. Like, they just look at athletes as robots.
Toy soldier.
In a way, because like, and it's always hard for me to have this discussion because he brought a lot of it on himself. Get that out in the open. I say it he brought it on himself. But everything that he went through, and I hate using that phrase, but there is no other phrase to use. Everything that he went through damaged him in some way. Like, he has never been the guy in Cleveland he was in Houston. Never. Not for one day. From the minute he walked out in the suit at the opening press conference, introductory press conference, he was stiff, he was nervous. You could just tell. And who wouldn't be, given everything that was put out there on him? And I just think everything that he went through broke him in some sort of way. And that is before you even get to the physical side of it. And we talked about yesterday, and he alluded to it. I told you yesterday, that shoulder injury that he had against Baltimore was so rare and unique for among quarterbacks that I think it changed his career in terms of how he can throw the ball. So, because he's never been Houston, Deshaun.
Right.
But since the Baltimore injury, he hasn't been an NFL quarterback. He's not even an NFL quarterback. Like, when we talked about before, the Dallas game, when you're missing guys by 7 yards out of bounds, that's Division III stuff.
Yeah.
Like, so I just think for the war that he has been through, again, self-inflicted, but for everything he's been through, emotionally, mentally, physically, I just think something it broke something inside of him. And then when you pile the injuries on top of it, that's why I've said all summer, like, this is insane. You're going to tell me he's going to be the starter. Like, if you're going to make me pick between Deshaun and Shedeur, it is no conversation. It's Shedeur every time, because there's nothing there. And the fact that they refuse to admit that mistake and they keep that anchor on the roster baffles me. It's unbelievable that he's still here.
I think it's because Jimmy Haslam, just however he's built, in my opinion, he just refused to give up on an investment. He wants to try for whatever reason he has to try to get something out of that investment. And we talked about this yesterday, and I think that's the only reason why Deshaun Watson is still here, is because you make a $230 million investment and Jimmy Haslam is stubborn, like most men are. And it's one of those things to where, like, you know what, nope, it's one more year. If I can get any type of return on it, let me get any type of return. But you're right. he was broken, spiritually broken, emotionally broken. Deshaun Watson has always came off as a guy who wanted people to embrace him, wanted people to like him. And, you know, I'm pretty sure him and his camp thought coming to Cleveland will give him a fresh start and opportunity to rebirth in a sense. And it never happened. You know, some people had planted their flag on where they felt about Deshaun Watson immediately. And some of the comments he made, or, you know, some of his actions or inactions during that period of time, it swayed people one way or another. Then, of course, the biggest thing is you didn't perform on the football field.
Right.
So you take all of that and you put that in the pot, and it seems like, you know, he just got to a point, and he said this, it got to a point to where he became introverted. He no longer wanted to be social. You know, he started paying attention of his surroundings more, being more aware of just the things he say, the people that surround him, things like that. Because who constantly, like you said, we're humans. Who constantly wants to deal with, you know, somebody always having something bad or negative to say about you? It'll break anybody eventually.
Yeah, and I think there's this silent part of every athlete in their heart. And I could just remember I cried like a baby after I tore my second ACL in like 12 months. And it wasn't because it hurt. Yeah, it was uncomfortable, but I already knew what the pain felt like because I did it on my right knee. But the thing that hurt was knowing that I was never going to be the same. The dream was over. Like, it was done. It was in that moment, you just know as a player, yeah, you can come back from one ACL, but you play for a MAC school. You had to outperform every metric. You had to then go to pro days and hopefully get to a combine and then actually show what you can do. But guess what? That ship has sailed now. You got to deal with this next one. And for me, I felt somewhere in his mind, I think it really hit him. It's over. After the shoulder and after the Achilles, the second one, he said, I got to remake who I am. And it starts with rehabilitating me as the person, because I'm going to have to live a lot longer than whatever my career is. And I think that was part of it.
And that kind of plays into the answer he gave when he was asked about the swing and miss comment from Jimmy Haslam. And this is exactly what Deshaun said. I'm going to read the question and then the answer. There's no graphic for this, but here's the question and the answer. The question is this. Last year at the owners' meeting, Jimmy Haslam was talking about the struggles of the team and said the trade for you was a big swing and miss. And a couple of months ago, he said maybe you shouldn't have used those exact comments. Did you hear those comments? Did you have any reaction? And how would you describe the nature of the relationship with the organization, especially given how the last couple of years have gone? Deshaun responded with, I mean, the relationship is great. D and Jimmy, they were at my wedding. We talk all the time. He calls me whenever, things happen and things like that happen. One of my favorite baseball players that I've been watching is Bryce Harper. Sometimes he swings, but he stands back up and gets another opportunity, and then he hits a home run. So you never know when that opportunity might show up, and that's what I have right now. That plays into what you said, G. He understands it may have been a swing and a miss, but this is his opportunity to step back up there, a la Bryce Harper, hit a home run. Whatever that looks like, we'll find out. But, Jason, you alluded to the fact you liked his answer to that comment, too. What about that response from Deshaun kind of stood out to you?
I just thought it was a great response. And, again, that has nothing to do with how he's going to perform on the field. But, I mean, obviously he has no reason to dislike Jimmy Haslam. Jimmy Haslam gave him $230 million. Why would you? And
still he's giving him a chance, right?
Yeah.
Jimmy Haslam is the reason he is able to rehabilitate his career. Before this, most people would have said, "Oh no, he got to go."
I've said for 2 years, cut him. It's over. Cut him.
Jimmy kept him on the roster, and without him keeping him on the roster, think about it, he would have never had a chance to have a conversation like he did, where people can say, "Oh, I like what he said right there."
This is just a hypothetical, but maybe it's for every reason that we're talking about that doesn't have to do with the on-field play, right? The Haslams are good people, and I know everybody got their opinion.
I agree with that.
Of them.
I do agree with that.
They are really, really good people. They care about their players. They care about this community, and they, especially D. Haslam, believe in giving players a second opportunity. So when we sit here and say, well, the Browns should have cut Deshaun Watson and should have moved on from Deshaun Watson, from a football standpoint, I think we can all agree it was time to move on. And if Jimmy Haslam truly wanted to, he would have just ate the money and moved on from him. But just maybe it's because of the respect he has for him as a person, or just whatever insight he has. If I cut Deshaun Watson, forget the football. What impacts will this have on this young man when it comes to his life. And I know a lot of people watching the show can care less because of the things that he was accused of. And like you said, he brought this stuff on himself. But just maybe this is the Haslam's giving him an opportunity to rehabilitate his life and his career. You talked about this last year. You talked about it. Show up. Be a good teammate. Keep your head down. Keep your mouth quiet. Do all the little things. And even if you don't get the opportunity here to be a starting quarterback, the NFL is a tight-knit group. Word get around how you conduct yourself, how you handle yourself, and just maybe somebody somewhere else might give you an opportunity to make their roster. Let's not even talk about starting. Make their roster. And so just maybe the Haslams probably looked at this and like, you know what? Let's focus on the person, not the player. And if we keep him on this roster, we can help him rehabilitate his life.
I disagree with everything you just said, but that's fine. Like, totally fine. I don't think you can operate your football team that way. This isn't listen, they gave him $230 million. They did everything they could for him. The rest is up to him. Whatever. There was something else you said that I didn't agree with, but I think this is Deshaun's last year in the NFL. I don't think any other team's giving him a chance. This is who would
Even if he plays well.
I mean, do we still think he's going to play well?
It's not an impossibility. I don't think so, but it's not an impossibility.
I think this is his last year in the NFL.
I think if they would have cut him prior to this, it would have 100% been his last possibility, right? But if he's on the roster, can continue to show that he can do certain things and maybe even play well in certain spots, maybe there's a hope for him being a backup somewhere.
Who would sign him and why?
Hey, listen, that is a very good question, and I'm not saying it's 100%. Yeah. I'm saying it's probably only 20% that happens. But the fact that he's on the NFL, we all know this. If you go on the NFL roster, at least you got another shot. Yeah. The thing that hurt, I could go to Kaepernick, I can go to whoever's outside the league. Once you sit out, to the Cam Newtons of the world, once you sit and once you done, it's a wrap.
And that's going to be the biggest question because, to Jason said, it very well could be or it can't be. If Deshaun Watson was to, produce at an average level, I think that would spark some team to want to give him a chance. But I think the biggest telltale will be the speed of the game. Once the pass come on, once you do the joint practices, once you play some preseason games, because the speed of the game was the issue for Deshaun Watson when he came back the first time. Yeah. And as I alluded to earlier, if he was to be the week 1 starter, it would be 693 days since he's last played as the starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. By the time you get to preseason, you over 600 plus days. So that would be the telltale of where is he when it comes to speed of the game. Because if there's going to be a warm-up or a rev-up period, then unfortunately that don't align with what the Cleveland Browns say that they are trying to do this year, and they say they are trying to win. And so if the speed of the game is too much, then you know what? That might not appeal to other teams because this is a revolving door. And the average NFL career is 3.5 years, and he's been along quite longer without even actually playing. So
yeah, coming up next, we go from one guy who we haven't heard from in Deshaun Watson to another guy we haven't heard from in Grant Delpit. But the question is we not hearing from him because it's an injury or he want that bag? We'll come back and discuss it right here on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show.